Welcome to Flindog Woodwork. This is Brian. So life can be super stressful. So a lot of people will pick up vices to help deal with that everyday stress. Some people may smoke, other people may drink, some people may pick up a hobby. Ever heard of competitive duck herding? What about beetle fighting? What about extreme ironing? No joke, these are real hobbies. But for me, I picked up a vice that I think is healthy and will continue to make a great impact on my shop. Let's go take a look at it. So I just got this box a couple of days ago. I purchased this item from Woodcraft, but it's also available on Amazon.com. As a reminder, I will leave links to this item in the description so you can go check it out for yourself. But first thing we need to do is to get inside this box. So here you can see what's inside the box. This is a mobile workstation smart vise made by, oh boy, Sjobergs.
Starts with an S. So swummy, slippy, slappy, slimming, Simmons, Swanson?
Maybe it's on the briefcase. Look on the...
Oh yeah, it's right here. Samsonite. I was way off. I knew it started with an S though.
Sjobergs. I think it's Sjobergs. You can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But let's get into this box and I'll show you how to assemble this and how it can be used in your shop. So before we get into this box, let's talk a little bit about why I purchased this smart vise. Now I've recently really got into hand tooling. I love using my plane and I love using chisels. However, I just don't have the tools right now to really give the sturdy grip that I need to be able to use these tools. Let me show you what I'm dealing with right now. So this is really the only true vise that I have in my shop right now. Now this is a metalworker's vise. It even has an anvil here on the side. Now this has suited me very well for a number of years, but let me tell you a couple things that I don't like about this vise. So if we take a look at this vise from the front, you can see that it's a fairly simple design. Now the first thing that I don't like about this vise is that these two clamping claws are fairly small. When I measure them, they come in at 4.5 inches long. And when you're working with longer pieces of wood, it just doesn't provide enough support to the front and the back of the actual workpiece. The second thing that I don't like about this vise is that it actually creates scars in your wood when you clamp it down. Since it has these two metal claws, it really does cause a lot of problems when you're trying to clamp your workpieces down. Now I don't want to give the impression that I wouldn't purchase this vise again, because I would absolutely purchase this vise again. For the price, you just can't beat it. Specifically, if you're a beginning woodworker and you want to try out a vise for the first time, I highly recommend this vise. So a little bit later in my woodworking career, I bought myself an MFT, and I was like, this thing is going to solve all of my vicing needs. With these side clamps here, I can clamp anything to the side of this and do whatever I want, especially with the wood plane. But let me show you the problem with that. You see that? The whole table moves, and that just isn't something you want to happen to you when you're planing. So I'm sure you could secure your MFT to a solid surface, that way it doesn't move around on you. However, I like to have the ability to move my MFT if I want to, so this isn't going to be a vicing solution for me. So I feel like I've justified the reason why I bought this smart vise, so let's get into this box. Before we get into this box though, I ask you to hit that subscribe button as it really does help out this small channel. So let's get into it. So inside the box, it looks like it has very few pieces, which is always a bonus because it means the assembly is going to be that much easier. So here's what comes in the box. It comes with your standard instructions, 4 bench dogs, some wood glue, the actual vise, the handle and the handle caps, 4 dowels, some screws, the actual bracket for the actual vise, a little piece of plywood, some feet, and then a little tool which I'm not quite sure we're going to use. So let's get into the build. So just like Budweiser, the tabletop of this actual vise is made of beechwood. Now I don't think this is aged beechwood, but it is beechwood, so that's a bonus. The first thing I'm going to do is actually glue this piece right here to the front of this actual vise. So let's get started on that. Now that we have glue evenly spread across the actual piece of wood, I'm going to place it on our vise and screw it in. Now you can see there's quite a bit of squeeze out from the actual glue, but I'm simply going to clean that up with a rag. So I already screwed up. I was actually supposed to put the actual glue on the other side where the screws can go into these actual divots and create a secure bond. So I'm going to clean this up and re-secure it. Alright, so now that I have everything cleaned up, I'm going to add some wood glue to the bottom again. And I think that should do it. And with the wood glue added, I can clamp this down with some screws. Now that we have that done, it's just a matter of cleaning up the glue squeeze out. Next up, it's time to add 2 dowels and to place this piece on top. Once that's on top, we place the final piece on top of that, and it's simply a matter of screwing it down. So you may or may not have noticed so far, but we're actually assembling this upside down. So the last thing to do is to actually assemble the face clamp of the vise. So we'll do that by sliding this in and screwing it into place. Now that we have the vise installed, it's time to screw on the handle. The last thing to do is to install these 2 dowels into the front of the vise that will give you alignment when you're attaching it to your workbench. And that's it, so let's give it a test. So I think this is the place where I'm going to store this vise. Now I will have to say that there was some damage to the vise as I was assembling it. Now this tabletop here is definitely not made of beechwood. It's actually a veneered or a plastic veneered MDF. The beechwood piece of the vise is this front piece here and this back piece right here. So that's something that you should know when purchasing this vise. If we look beneath the vise, you can see that the dowels that we just installed are there for alignment purposes, so you can push your vise directly against your workbench. So there are actually 3 ways you can attach this vise to your workbench. It did come with rubber feet on all 4 corners of the vise that give it a little bit of friction, so you can just rest it on top of your workbench. You can also use quick clamps and attach the frame to your workbench. This seems to be a little bit more difficult as the lip on the actual vise is not that large. Now let me show you the third and final way. So the third way you can actually semi-permanently attach your vise to your workbench is by these little holes right here. You can either attach some sort of bolt, screw, or some other item so you can securely attach your vise to your workbench. So now let's talk about some of the functionality of this vise. As I said before, this vise comes with 4 bench dogs. Each one of these bench dogs has a flat side on one side and a round side on the other. And we'll show you what that's used for in just a moment. Now the bench dogs are made of hardened plastic and fit very securely into the bench dog holes. There's also 2 bench dog holes in the actual face of the vise that will give it support when you're putting larger pieces of wood into your vise. So let's test this out and see how it works. So one of the first things that you're probably asking is, how far does this vise come out? And if I unscrew it here all the way, we're looking at just over 4 inches, maybe 4.5 inches.
According to the map, we've only gone about 4 inches.
The next thing I was concerned about is the clamping strength. If I wind this down and place this 2x4 in the clamp, I will test out the strength of this clamp. And if I just give it a little twist, that wood isn't going anywhere and is very securely in there. Now let's give it a plane or 2 and see how well it holds up to the plane. And you can see I'm getting some nice shavings off of that. And the whole thing didn't move at all, and that's exactly what I'm looking for.
Great success.
So let's say you have a wider piece of wood that you need to do some planing on. That's where these bench dogs come into play. Now these bench dogs allow you to pinch your workpiece in between the face of the vise and the back of the table. That way it gives you all the support you need as you're planing through your wood. Now conservatively, you could plane a piece of wood that's approximately 15 inches wide or less. So let's give that a shot. So here I've got a wider piece of mahogany that I'm going to do some face planing on. I'm going to move the bench dogs to the approximate width of the actual board, and then I'm going to place the board onto the vise. Then I'm going to tighten it down. Once I have it secure, I can take my plane and do some face planing. And that did just a wonderful job with no movement of the board whatsoever, so I'm super pleased with that. Now I'm super pleased with how secure this vise is. There's only one test left to show how secure this vise is. Let's see if Ferris Bueller is right. So here's a piece of charcoal, and let's place it in the vise.
If you stuck a lump of coal up his ass, in 2 weeks you have a diamond.
And would you believe it? It is a diamond. So just like Ricky Bobby, Sjobergs is the best.
I'm the best there is, plain and simple. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I piss excellence.
If we take a look at this workpiece that I planed down, you can see that this side of the mahogany is beautiful and shiny. If we flip it over, you can see the beginning side of what I started with, and that is remarkable. When I was planing through that workpiece, there was no movement, no wiggle, nothing at all from this vise. And that's exactly what I expect from the Sjobergs brand. Well, thanks for joining me today in this unboxing and assembly of the Sjobergs Smart Vise. This thing is going to be a valuable addition to my shop, and I think it might be a valuable addition to your shop as well, especially if you're getting into hand tools. This is an inexpensive alternative to a high-priced vise that you can buy from other companies, including Sjobergs. Well, thanks for joining me today, and we'll see you again next time. Well, thanks for joining me today on this unboxing and assembly of the Sjobergs Smart Vise. I really enjoyed showing it to you, and I think it's going to be a valuable addition to the shop. If you get a chance, I'd love to get your subscription and leave a like. Also hit that notification bell so you can be informed when future videos come out. Thanks again, and take care as always.